G'day there everyone, welcome to Movie Studio Zen. My name is Derek. This tutorial is a beginner's guide for how to use Handbrake, which is a free open source transcoder for converting video. I'm actually making this tutorial on the 5th of July 2018 in Australia, which also happens to be the 4th of July in the USA. So hopefully I'll get to finish this video before the alien mothership arrives. I will be using the very latest build version for Handbrake, which is currently version 1.1.1. The purpose of this tutorial is to explain what most of the settings mean in Handbrake. Hopefully by the end of this video, you will have the confidence to start using Handbrake and try your own experiments to find the best recipes for video encoding. I have also written a step-by-step detailed guide, including screenshots for how to use Handbrake on the Movie Studio Zen website. You can check it out here. I have also added quick links in the video description, so if you want to jump quickly through this video, you can do that. Now I have a quick message before I begin. Magix has a special 2-for-1 upgrade deal on right now for Vegas Pro. If you already own an older version of Vegas Pro or Vegas Movie Studio, you can upgrade to Vegas Pro 15 now and then get Vegas Pro 16 for free when it is released soon. There is a link to this offer in the description below. Okay, let's get onto the computer and I'll show you how to use Handbrake 1.1.1. Okay, let's get started. So, as I mentioned in my intro, I've written a detailed step-by-step beginner's guide on the Movie Studio Zen website, and I've broken it into different chapters. So you can press a link and go directly to a specific topic. Obviously, you'll need to download and install Handbrake. The download link is in the article, handbrake.fr. Click that. Make sure to only download from the official website. Press the big red button, download and install it. I'm sure you know how to do that. Once you've installed the program, boot it up. Okay, step 2, importing videos. So Handbrake refers to videos as source. So whenever you hear the word source in Handbrake, it's referring to your videos. So you can do the old drag and drop directly onto the Handbrake desktop, or you can import single files here, or do batch import. So a batch import is where you may have a folder filled with a couple of different videos that you would all like to convert at the same time. I'm going to start with just a single file import. So just select your video, and then it does a quick little scan, and then you're ready to proceed. If we're doing a batch import, select folder batch scan, locate the folder on your computer that has the videos and open the folder. Then Handbrake will scan that folder, go to title, hit the drop down box, and here it will list all the different videos that you can work with. So you can just select one of them if you wanted to just work with one. Handbrake allows you to add things to a queue. If you just press on top of there, whatever video you're working with in the title will be added to the queue. But if you press the little triangle, you can go add current, add all, or add selection. So let's do add selection. So then you can manually go, oh, I don't want that, but yeah, I want those ones there. Then click add, and then all those particular videos are added to your queue. Before we go into a deeper dive of the Handbrake settings, let's look at doing something simply and quickly. So Handbrake now comes with a large selection of presets. These presets have already been perfectly configured. If you select Fast 1080p 30, that's a good one to start with. There's only really one thing to be aware of before you start converting, and that's to check your frame rate. So this video, this movie I've selected, the movie Time-Lapse, great movie by the way, go to source at the top and Handbrake will tell you the original frame rate, 24 FPS. Then go to the video tab and you want to make sure that you're using the same frame rate. So there's two ways you can do it. An easy way is to select same as source, so that'll match it. Or you can manually select it from the list here. And another thing that I think is a good idea is to set it to constant frame rate. Then go down to Save As, and this is the output folder location. If you want to set it to, if you want to save the video to a different folder, click Browse. And if you want to give it a different name, you can do that now. And then just press Start Queue and it'll start converting. Now we are going to go on a deeper dive into all the custom settings available in Handbrake. So I'm just going to progressively go through each of these windows here and explain most of the settings. So the first window, Summary, is what it sounds like. This is a summary window of all your settings collected from the whole program here. There's two important choices in this window, Format and Web Optimized. So you can either export to .mp4 format or .mkv. If you're uploading a video to a place like YouTube, Vimeo or Facebook, you want to make sure it's MP4. If you're just doing something for playback on your home computer or in a media server, then maybe you may like to select MKV. But if in doubt, just do everything as MP4. If the video is going to be uploaded to the internet, then you need to select Web Optimized. And that's it. They're all the settings in this window. As you change things, if you keep going back to the summary window, you'll see that the information here will change. And you also get a nice little preview of your video. Dimensions. I remember when I was first learning Handbrake, the dimensions window used to do my head in because I'd import a video, go to the summary window, and it just was displaying all sorts of weird crap. At the top here, we've got source, and source is telling us what is the outside dimensions of the video frame. PAR means pixel aspect ratio. So most HD video, all video you see on YouTube will be using a pixel aspect ratio of 1:1. If you import video from a DVD or from a standard definition video camera, that's when you're going to see strange pixel aspect ratios. The anamorphic settings here, I think for most people automatic is what you'll stick with, or none. And if you're trying to work out a problem where a video is not displaying the correct aspect ratio, then you would put it into custom mode. When you import a video that has black bars at the top and the bottom or the sides of the video, that's when you're going to see different behavior in these settings here. So this video I've imported doesn't have any black bars, so the source dimensions and the encoding dimensions are exactly the same. But let's see what happens when I import Starman movie. I think I ripped this off a Blu-ray. So if we go to the summary window, we've got this long narrow, and something doesn't look right, but it is actually okay. Because this is what's happened. The original source video is 1920 by 1080, standard pixel aspect ratio of 1:1. But then what's happened is Handbrake has automatically zoomed in and removed the top and bottom black bars. Because the theory of Handbrake is when you're converting a video, you don't need to be converting any black bars. it's only going to be converting to video only, because when you play back that video in a media player, the media player will automatically add the black bars for you. However, if you don't want that and you want to keep your black bars, this is what you've got to do. So first thing I'm going to do is put it into custom mode. Then I'm going to also set this to custom. Then I'm going to remove the top and the bottom. Change the height back to the original height. Then when we go to the summary window, this is how the original video was displayed. Another good thing about these custom settings in the dimensions window is repairing a video that's had its aspect ratio all screwed up. So often I've seen this. Someone's uploaded an old movie that you can't buy anymore to YouTube, but when they uploaded it, they've rendered it in the wrong aspect ratio and it's all too stretched or too squished. So you can sort of repair that by manipulating these settings here. One final quick thing, I have no idea what modulus means, but from what I've researched, it's best to stick with 2. Just don't muck around with this unless you know exactly what you're doing. Filters. The first setting is de-telesign. So this filter removes combing artifacts that are the result of telesigning. So telesigning is a process where Hollywood shoots all their movies in 24 frames per second, and to show it on North American television, it has to be converted into NTSC 29.97 frames per second. And when you do that, the movie becomes interlaced. So it all relates to de-interlacing and removing these nasty artifacts. De-interlace does what it says. It's for when you're working with interlaced video that needs to be de-interlaced. So there's 3 settings: off, YADIF and decomb. Apparently YADIF is quite a fast process, but the one that Handbrake recommends is decomb. And then for each of those settings, they have a series of different presets, which half of them I don't understand, so I'm not going to talk about them now. I think it is pretty safe to leave decomb turned on. If it doesn't need de-interlacing, it'll just ignore the filter. The denoise filter is referring to video noise, which can result from things like film grain, compression artifacts, poorly shot video in low light situations, that type of thing. So you can have it off, obviously, and there's 2 settings here. There's NL means and HQDN3D. NL means apparently is the superior one, and this HQDN3D is a much faster denoiser. When you turn these on, then there are further presets. So it's pretty sort of straightforward. Ultra light right up to strong. And then there's also tune modes. I'll wait till I get a little bit further in and talk about tune modes. If you do have a lot of noise in your video and you want to try and clean it up, NL means is a good one, but HQ is a little bit faster. Sharpening enhances the appearance of detail, especially edges. But be very careful when using the sharpening filter, because if you overdo it, you can damage the picture quality and you can actually end up introducing noise and compression artifacts, all sorts of weird stuff that actually makes the file size much larger than the original file when you convert it, so be careful. There's 2 filters, unsharp and lap sharp. Unsharp I think is the most popular one. It's just a general purpose unsharp masking filter. It sharpens by blurring and then calculating the difference between the blurred picture and the original. Just like denoise, when you select one of these filters, there are further presets, which is basically the strength of how much you want to do the sharpening, and also tune presets as well. As I said, I'll talk about tune in a minute when we get to the video tab. D-block works as a slider, so it's either off, and it has different strength settings going all the way up to 15. So D-block reduces blocky artifacts caused by low quality video compression. If you turn it on, it tends to blur the video to remove any blockiness. but it can also destroy noise and film grain. So you've got to be careful with using this once again. Less is often more when using a lot of these different filters. Grayscale, that's an easy one. When you turn that on, it's going to convert your video into good old black and white. I'm actually old enough that I can remember black and white television. That's what happens when you grow up in the 70s. Rotate, that just rotates the video around. So this is a really good setting if you're working with mobile phone video that's not displaying properly in the summary window. So you can rotate it around the clock. And if you select flip, flip will mirror the picture on the horizontal axis. Video. This is the most important window in Handbrake, because this is the window that's going to determine the quality of your video and the file size of your video. Video codec. In the drop down box there's quite a few different codecs you can select from, but the two that I would recommend is H.264 using the X264 encoder or H.265 X265 encoder. For most people that first one is the one to use. That's the one to start with. If you're working with really massive files like 4K video files, that's when you might want to consider H.265. Frame rate, FPS. For most people, same as source is probably the safest setting. If you know what you're doing though, I'm old-fashioned and I like to set my frame rates manually. So if I check my source video, this one here is 23.98. So I would select this one here, 23.976. 976 is often shortened to 9.8. There's two options here, constant frame rate or peak frame rate. Peak is referring to variable frame rate video, and most video coming out of mobile phones is recorded as variable. However, I'm coming at this from a video editing perspective, and most video editing programs need constant frame rate video to work properly. So I would always select constant frame rate. Now, just mentioning on mobile phone video just briefly, because I'm coming from a Vegas Pro, Vegas Movie Studio perspective, a lot of variable frame rate video doesn't work properly in Vegas. So this is where Handbrake is a great program for first converting it into constant frame rate. Quality settings. So there's two different ways you can encode your video. The preferred method, the one that Handbrake recommends, is using constant quality, or you can use average bit rate. Constant quality, you have a slider. If you go, the higher the number, the lower the quality, and the smaller the file size will be. As you increase the slider, you're getting progressively more quality and much larger file sizes. Now this slider is not like a straight line, it's actually a logarithmic scale, so that means that as you increase the quality, it's like a graph that goes up like this, so your file sizes will increase dramatically as you push that up. But what you'll find is you'll reach a point where increasing any further becomes ridiculous because you're not really getting any improvement in quality except for a massive file size. So Handbrake sort of recommends anywhere from 18 to 23 depending on what type of video you're working with. Standard definition video they recommend between 18 and 20, and high definition between 20 and 23. But this is where you need to do your own experiments and find out what works best with your video. If you use average bit rate, this is where you're really trying to restrict the file size. So say if you want like just pretty low quality, you might just say 5,000 kilobits per second, and what it'll do, it'll target the averages of the bit rate through the entire video to keep it within this particular setting and keep the file size at a particular size. Handbrake also recommends 2-pass encoding and turbo first pass. So 2-pass encoding, what it does is that it's like rendering the video twice, but by doing that you end up with a better quality video. and turbo first pass does what it says. If you have that turned on, the first pass goes quite quickly, then the second pass will be slower. But as I said in the beginning, it's much better to stick with constant quality. That's what Handbrake excels at. Optimize video settings. The first setting here is Use Advanced tab instead. So when you turn that on, a new window appears. This window is for advanced professor level computer nerds, okay? That's once you know exactly what you're doing, then you can work with this type of window. I've got to admit, at this stage, this window is beyond my capability. So for most people, don't even worry about the advanced window, just keep it turned off. Encoder preset. The encoder preset slider ranges from ultra fast all the way to placebo. The selection here adjusts the encoder and is a trade-off between compression efficiency versus encoding speed. So ultra fast is very high speed encoding, but requires much higher bit rates to maintain the quality. If you go the other way, all the way to placebo, it's extremely slow to encode, but the final file size may be a lot smaller, but it's going to take hours and hours to encode. Now in the filters window, I mentioned that I would talk about those tune presets. So we have encoder tune, and we've got film, animation, grain, still image, PSNR, SSIM, and zero latency. So these are all further customizations that are designed to improve the quality based on particular scenarios. So film is for real life footage. If you're going to try one of these tune presets, film is probably the one that most people are going to use. Animation is used for hand-drawn animated content. Grain is typically used for very fine grain or old content. Still image is for slideshows, presentations, that type of thing. The PSNR and SSIM, don't look at them. They're for benchmarking quality. That's super nerd stuff. And finally, zero latency is designed for fast decoding. So if the video is destined to be played back on a device that is quite low powered, zero latency may help. If you render your video of Handbrake and then play it back on a device and it seems to be dropping frames, that's when you might like to try fast decode, which will reduce CPU usage and help to stop those dropped frames. Encoder profile, once again, Handbrake recommends auto for most people, but if you know what you're doing, you can try high, main, or baseline. Baseline is the simplest. Main is what a lot of videos are encoded with, and then you've got high. Consider encoder profiles as the level of complexity required to encode or decode the video. The more complexity, the more CPU power is required by the device you play back the video on to decode it. And encoder levels also relate to the same thing. The higher you set the number, the more complexity is required, henceforth more CPU power is required. As an actual example, I know when I've tried to encode videos to high profile and using a high level, I couldn't play them back on my Samsung 4K Smart TV. It just couldn't handle it. It either was not set in the firmware or the CPU is not powerful enough to handle it. But anything that I encode to main or baseline with any encoder level works fine. So that's another one of those areas that you probably would like to experiment with. If you want to sort of get a bit of an idea of videos you own, what level they're using, I highly recommend, if you haven't already got it, to download the Media Info app, install it on your computer. Then if you go to any video on your computer, do a right click and select Media Info, you'll see what the video was encoded with. So this one here was set to baseline at level 4. So back into Handbrake, that would have been baseline level 4. Extra options, that's an advanced window for people that know what they're doing. If you're still watching, you're still listening, you're an absolute champion to get this far. I know this has been a long tutorial, but there's really no way to make it any shorter. So we're on to the audio tab. If you wanted to encode different audio tracks, multiple audio tracks that can be selected. You can add extra ones here, but I'm just going to concentrate on the default setting here. So this movie here, Starman, it was a 5.1 surround audio track, and that's what comes up here. I could have selected a simpler movie that was just encoded to stereo, and you can see how the settings change. Now on the codec, there's a great feature in Handbrake that I use most of the time, and it's this pass-through feature. So if you select auto pass-through, what it does is it doesn't re-encode the audio. It copies that same original audio with your video and doesn't make any changes to it. But if for some reason you did want to re-encode it at a different bit rate, then that's important to set your bit rate correctly. I've always been of the opinion that if the audio sucks in a video, it destroys the whole thing. I always recommend a minimum of 192, but most of my videos I record at least 320 kilobits per second. Then you're guaranteed that you maintain beautiful audio quality. I think I'll leave audio at that. Subtitles. Subtitles, I love working with subtitles because I watch a lot of foreign movies. So if you need to import a new subtitle track with a different language, you can do that. But for most people, if you're not worried about subtitles, you want to get rid of this. You don't need any subtitles if there's no subtitles in the movie. So just click it out and that's it. That's the end of subtitles. Chapters. So if you've got chapter markers, new chapter markers, you can import them. But just like subtitles, I think for most people, they're not really interested in chapter markers. So I recommend actually turning that off unless it's important for you. So that's it. That's all the settings in the front end of Handbrake. Creating your own presets. So once you've changed all the settings, done all your optimization, all that type of thing, to save, as you can see here, I've got some of my current experiments here in the custom presets folder. So all you've got to do is press the add button, name it, let's call this Dexter, I don't know, test 3000. Put a description here if you want, blah, 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 blah. You can create a new folder if you want to, click add, and then it's in here in the list. So then next time I'm encoding a particular movie, I just press that, then I don't have to worry about setting any of this stuff again. And the very final thing is if you go to Tools, Preferences, there are some further settings here. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but the one, like you've got the output file settings here, but the one I want to draw your attention to is if you're on a computer that has an Intel CPU with Intel QuickSync activated, you may like to use that to do your decoding. But that's, once again, something that you might want to experiment with. Other settings in there as well. Check for updates. That's an important thing to do every now and again. And that is it. That is the end of my beginner's guide for Handbrake. If anyone is still listening, thank you that you got this far. If you're an advanced user and you've discovered that I've said something absolutely ridiculous, something stupid that I've got totally ballsed up, please let me know and I'll amend the article. I am still learning on Handbrake. It's taken me a long time to get to just this far. So thanks very much for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.